The Security Council chamber fell into uneasy silence as Dr. Chen's proposal appeared on the main display. The quantum vessel's schematics rotated slowly, showcasing its unusual design. No weapon ports, minimal defensive shielding, but an enormous power core, unlike anything in Earth's current fleet. You want us to stake humanity's survival on an untested theoretical technology? General Santos asked, her voice tight with disbelief. The Corvallians have destroyed 7 civilizations that we know of. They don't negotiate. Dr. Chen stepped closer to the holographic display, her slender fingers adjusting parameters that made the ship's central chamber pulse with simulated energy. That's precisely why they won't expect this approach. Their tactical models predict either our surrender or a conventional defense. This, she gestured to the ship, exists outside their strategic paradigm. Explain exactly how this consciousness bridge works, requested Ambassador Okafor, leaning forward with intense curiosity. In terms we can all understand. Chen nodded, gesturing to her assistant, who distributed neural interface diagrams to each council member. Quantum entanglement doesn't just work on particles, it works on information itself. We've discovered that consciousness, at its most fundamental level, operates on quantum principles. This ship creates a field where 2 minds can become temporarily entangled, sharing not just thoughts but lived experiences. Professor Williams from the Theoretical Physics Division shook his head. But the Hoffman uncertainty principle clearly states that cross-species neural mapping is impossible due to biological incompatibility. A small smile played across Chen's lips. That was true until last Tuesday. She displayed new equations on the screen that caused Williams to inhale sharply. We've solved the compatibility matrix. Any sentient mind can connect with any other, regardless of biological structure. Council President Takahashi rubbed his temples. You're proposing we send 1 ship, carrying 12 people, to face 500 warships, with a device that will allow our representative to, what? Share feelings with Admiral Xanthor. Precisely, Chen replied without hesitation. But not just any feelings. Complete understanding. Every memory, every motivation, every fear and hope that makes us human. She looked around the room, meeting each pair of eyes. They're attacking us because they fundamentally misunderstand what humanity is. This technology will show them. General Santos slapped her hand on the table. This is absurd. Even if this bridge works, why would Xanthor agree to use it? These are beings who evolved from apex predators on a resource-scarce world. Their entire culture is built around dominance hierarchies and conquest, which is exactly why Admiral Xanthor will accept our proposal, spoke a new voice from the doorway. Captain Jamal Reeves entered, his diplomatic corps uniform impeccable despite having been summoned on emergency notice. I've studied Xanthor's conquest patterns across the Orion Arm. Before destroying any civilization, he always studies them intensively. He collects cultural artifacts, learns their languages, even adopts aspects of their military strategies. He's pathologically curious about other species. Reeves approached the central display, bringing up footage of Corvallian first contact protocols. They always offer their victims a chance to showcase their unique evolutionary advantages before conquest. It's almost ritualistic, a way of honoring worthy opponents by incorporating their strengths. Dr. Chen nodded enthusiastically, which gives us our opening. We present the consciousness bridge as humanity's unique evolutionary advantage, our capacity for empathy and understanding across boundaries. The room fell quiet as council members processed the audacious proposal. Finally, President Takahashi spoke. And if it fails, if the bridge doesn't work, or if Xanthor refuses? Chen and Reeves exchanged a look. Then humanity falls no faster than it would otherwise. Chen answered honestly. But if it succeeds, we don't just save ourselves. We potentially transform galactic civilization. The council chamber erupted in heated debate. Military commanders argued for conventional defenses, diplomats pushed for negotiation attempts, colonial representatives demanded evacuation priorities. Throughout it all, Dr. Chen stood calmly beside her ship schematics, already mentally assembling the crew that would take humanity's ultimate gamble to the stars. 23 hours until the Corvallian deadline, announced the Chamber's eye assistant, initiating final vote on response protocols. President Takahashi surveyed the divided room. All those in favor of Project Emissary. Captain Reeves ran his fingers over the neural interface crown, feeling the cool metal alloy against his skin. The device looked deceptively simple, a circlet of platinum iridium with 12 crystalline nodes positioned to align with specific regions of the brain. Yet inside each crystal was a quantum processor more powerful than all of Earth's pre-war supercomputers combined. "It won't hurt, if that's what you're wondering," Dr. Chen said as she entered his quarters, carrying a data tablet. "The sensation is more expansive than painful, like suddenly remembering things you never knew you'd forgotten." Reeves placed the crown back in its containment field. "Have you tested it? Connected with another mind?" Chen's expression shifted almost imperceptibly. "Yes, with Dr. Singh." The experience was profound. She hesitated, then sat across from him. "Captain, there's something you should know before we reach the rendezvous point. The bridge connection isn't just a transfer of information. It's a genuine sharing of consciousness. Xanthor will experience your memories as if they were his own. And I'll experience his," Reeves concluded, the full implications dawning on him. "Every world he's conquered, every species he's subjected, every decision, every justification, every emotion behind those choices," Chen confirmed. "That's why we needed you specifically. Your diplomatic training included extensive psychological resilience protocols. You can maintain your sense of self even while experiencing another's perspective." The ship's AI chimed softly, "Approaching quantum transition point in 5 minutes. All personnel please secure stations." As they made their way to the bridge, Reeves studied Chen's profile. "There's more you're not telling me." She didn't deny it. "The bridge creates a temporary quantum entanglement between minds. In theory, once that connection is broken, both participants return to their separate consciousness." She paused as they entered the bridge. "But in our tests, we found that echoes remain. Fragments of the other person's memories, emotional responses, even certain thought patterns." Before Reeves could respond, Dr. Singh called from her station. "Quantum core online. Bridge systems green across all parameters." Around them, the ship's interior lighting dimmed as power redirected to the massive arrays housed in the vessel's center. Transition in 3, 2, 1. Reality shimmered around them as the emissary slipped between dimensions, writing quantum probabilities rather than conventional space. Through the viewports, the crew watched in silent awe as microscopic quantum strings connected distant points in spacetime, creating a direct path to their destination. "Beautiful, isn't it?" whispered communications specialist Novak, his eyes wide as he watched the cosmic display. "Hard to believe we're about to use this miracle to face down an extinction-level threat." "That's humanity for you," replied cultural anthropologist Dr. Yamamoto from her station. "We invented nuclear fusion to make both power plants and bombs. We've always stood at the crossroads between creation and destruction." The quantum strings suddenly converged into a brilliant flash of light, and normal space reasserted itself around them. Ahead, filling the view screen, loomed the massive Corvallian Armada, ships arranged in perfect geometric patterns that shifted with mathematical precision. Sweet Mother of Mercy, Braith Security Chief Ortiz. "I knew there were 500 ships, but seeing them like this." "Focus on our mission," Reeves commanded, his voice steady despite the intimidating sight. "Dr. Singh, status of the bridge core." "Fully operational," she replied, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. "Quantum field stability at 97%. Better than our Earth trials." Reeves nodded, then turned to Chen. "Before we contact them, I need to know, what happens if this doesn't work? If Xanthor refuses the connection, or if the bridge fails?" Chen's eyes remained fixed on the enemy fleet, This ship has one other capability I haven't mentioned to the Council. She activated a private channel on Reeves' console, displaying new schematics of the emissary. The quantum core that powers the bridge can also be reconfigured to create a cascading reality inversion. In English, Doctor, it would create a temporary bubble of altered physical laws encompassing approximately half a light minute in all directions. Nothing inside would be destroyed, just changed at the fundamental level, she explained. All weapons would simply stop working. Permanently. Reeves stared at her. You built a doomsday device into my ship. I built a last resort, Chen corrected. One that doesn't rely on destruction, but transformation. She closed the schematic. But it would require the complete sacrifice of the emissary and everyone aboard to initiate the cascade. The communication system chimed, indicating an incoming transmission. On the main view screen, the intimidating face of Admiral Xanthor appeared, mandibles clicking in anticipation. Your time has arrived, humans, the Corvallian commander announced. What final words does your species offer before submission? Captain Reeves straightened his uniform and stepped forward, every diplomatic skill he possessed focused on the next few moments. Admiral Xanthor, I bring greetings from Earth and an invitation. The silence on the bridge stretched to uncomfortable lengths as Admiral Xanthor's compound eyes narrowed, studying Reeves with predatory intensity. An invitation. The Corvallian commander finally responded, mandibles clicking rapidly in what the cultural database identified as amused disbelief. Your species faces extinction, yet you speak of invitations. The most significant invitation your species will ever receive, Reeves replied evenly. Permission to approach your flagship and demonstrate humanity's most revolutionary technology. Behind him, the crew maintained perfect composure despite the tension crackling through the air. Dr. Chen stood slightly off-camera, nodding encouragingly as Reeves continued. Admiral, your intelligence on human capabilities is incomplete. Before making your final decision regarding our species, wouldn't a thorough assessment of our evolutionary advantages be prudent? Isn't that the Corvallian way? The alien commander's head tilted slightly, a gesture the cultural team had identified as indicating curiosity. You have studied our protocols. Interesting. His secondary eyes blinked in rapid sequence as he consulted data streams only he could see. Our scans detect no conventional weapons on your vessel, yet your quantum signature is unusual. Explain. Dr. Chen stepped forward, joining Reeves in the transmission field. That's precisely what we wish to demonstrate, Admiral. We've harnessed quantum entanglement in ways your scientists haven't yet conceived, ways that could benefit both our species. Xanthor's mandibles clicked rapidly, the Corvallian equivalent of derisive laughter. Benefit? Your worlds will become resource extraction points for the Dominion. Your people will serve as we determine appropriate. What possible benefit could you offer us? Understanding, Chen replied simply. Complete, perfect understanding. The alien commander's reaction was subtle, a momentary stillness that the cultural team's algorithms flagged as significant. On a secondary monitor, Dr. Yamamoto's analysis appeared. Asterisk concept triggered genuine interest response. Corvallian neural patterns show engagement spike asterisk. Your vessel will be scanned thoroughly, Xanthor declared. Any deception will result in immediate destruction. The transmission cut, and the bridge crew collectively exhaled. He's curious, Dr. Yamamoto confirmed, reviewing the facial recognition data. That's the same micro-expression pattern he displayed before studying the Arcturian civilization for 3 months before ultimately conquering them. Difference being, the Arcturians didn't have our secret weapon, Novik muttered, eyes on his communications console. Reeves turned to Chen. How long before their scanners detect the quantum cascade potential? They won't, she assured him. The cascade configuration only exists as a possibility until I manually reconfigure the core matrix. Right now, the quantum signature they're detecting relates solely to the bridge technology. The emissary shuddered as powerful scanning beams washed over the hull, penetrating every compartment. On the engineering deck, Dr. Singh monitored the bridge core's reaction, making minute adjustments to maintain its stability under the invasive scans. "They're being extremely thorough," she reported over the comm. "Quantum-level particle analysis, dark matter resonance mapping, even checking for temporal anomalies." "As expected," Chen replied. "The more thoroughly they scan us, the more intrigued Xanthor becomes with our technology." The scanning beams intensified, focused now entirely on the ship's central section, where the bridge core pulsed with blue-white energy. Status alerts chimed across multiple stations. "Core temperature rising," Dr. Singh warned. "They've switched to high-energy tachyon scanning. The quantum field is destabilizing." Chen moved quickly to a secondary console, fingers flying across the controls. "Initiating adaptive shielding around the core. Captain, we need to distract them before they accidentally trigger a resonance cascade." Reeves reopened the communication channel. "Admiral Xanthor, while we appreciate your thoroughness, your tachyon scanners are creating instability in our quantum systems. Nothing dangerous," he added quickly, "but potentially damaging to the very technology we wish to demonstrate." The scanning beams abruptly ceased. Xanthor's face reappeared on screen, his expression now unmistakably intrigued. "Your vessel contains technology sensitive to tachyon resonance. Fascinating. Our scientists have theorized such possibilities, but never achieved practical application." Dr. Singh's voice came quietly over Reeves' private comm. "Core stabilizing. Nice save, Captain." Xanthor leaned forward in his command chair. "Very well, humans. You have earned your demonstration through novelty alone. Approach coordinates are being transmitted to your vessel. You and 3 others may board. Unarmed, naturally." His mandibles spread in what the cultural database labeled as an expression of supreme confidence. "I look forward to adding your unique quantum advancements to the Dominion's technological index before we begin the systematic harvesting of your worlds." As the transmission ended, Reeves turned to his crew. "Well, that went exactly as planned. Chen, Singh, Yamamoto, you're with me. Novak, you have the bridge." Dr. Yamamoto checked her cultural database one final time. "Captain, remember that Corvallian greeting protocols require you to acknowledge the superior's primary limbs before making eye contact. And whatever you do, don't expose your neck. It's interpreted as either submission or an invitation to feeding." "Wonderful," Reeves muttered as they made their way to the shuttle bay. No pressure at all. The shuttle journey to the Corvallian flagship took less than 5 minutes, but to Reeves it felt like crossing a vast psychological chasm. The emissary grew smaller behind them, while the annihilator loomed ahead, a massive construct of crimson metal and obsidian energy fields that dwarfed anything humanity had ever built. Its central hull alone measured longer than Manhattan Island. "Remember," Dr. Yamamoto said quietly as they approached the yawning hangar bay, "Corvallian hierarchy is absolute. Only address Xanthor directly if he speaks to you first. Otherwise, direct all communication through his second-in-command." Dr. Singh carefully checked the portable bridge components, 3 brushed metal cases containing the essential quantum technology. "The core matrix is stable, but we'll only have one opportunity to establish the connection. Once initiated, it can't be interrupted without potential neurological damage to both participants." Dr. Chen adjusted her uniform, her expression calm despite the circumstances. "Captain, when the connection forms, you'll experience a momentary sense of disorientation. Don't fight it. Let Xanthor's consciousness come to you. The more resistance you offer, the more difficult the integration." The shuttle glided into the Corvallian hangar, settling gently on the polished black floor. Through the viewport, they could see at least 30 Corvallian warriors arranged in perfect formation, their chitinous armor gleaming under the harsh lighting. At their center stood a slightly smaller figure in what appeared to be a technician's garb, rather than battle armor. "That's our welcoming committee," Yamamoto noted. "The smaller one is a cast technician, probably assigned to examine our equipment before we're allowed further into the ship. Reeves took a deep breath. Everyone remember, we're not here to fight, negotiate, or debate. We're here to connect. Everything else is secondary. He activated the shuttle's exterior hatch, which hissed open to reveal the hangar's atmosphere, slightly denser than Earth standard, with a faint metallic scent. The Corvallian technician approached immediately, carrying what appeared to be an advanced scanning device. Humans, it addressed them in surprisingly perfect English. I am Science Officer Zexlin. You will surrender your devices for examination before proceeding. Dr. Singh stepped forward with the 3 cases. These components must remain precisely calibrated. Any disassembly will render them useless. The science officer's secondary eyes narrowed in what the cultural database had identified as suspicion. Explain functionality. Quantum neural interface technology, Chen replied, keeping her explanation deliberately simplified. It creates a temporary connection between minds across species barriers. Zexlin's scanning device hummed as it passed over the cases. Unusual energy signature. Purpose of connection. Perfect understanding, Chen answered. Beyond language, beyond cultural barriers. The science officer's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of intense interest according to Yamamoto's subtle hand gesture to Reeves. After several tense moments, Zexlin stepped back. You will follow. Any deviation from designated path will result in immediate termination. The human delegation was escorted through a series of massive corridors, each more imposing than the last. The walls displayed what appeared to be artifacts from conquered civilizations, objects of obvious cultural significance displayed like hunting trophies. Reeves noticed Dr. Yamamoto discreetly recording everything with her ocular implants, her anthropologist's mind cataloging the cultural significance of each display. After passing through 7 security checkpoints, each more stringent than the last, they arrived at an enormous circular chamber dominated by a raised platform. Admiral Xanthor stood at its center, his commanding presence felt immediately by everyone in the room. Unlike the other Corvallians, his exoskeleton bore intricate markings etched directly into the chitin, a record of conquests, according to their briefing materials. The humans and their device, announced Zexlin, lowering his head in the Corvallian gesture of deference. Xanthor studied them with his primary eyes, while his secondary visual organs scanned their equipment. Captain Reeves, he said finally, you stand before the high command of the Corvallian Dominion, with nothing but a theoretical device between your species and extinction. Explain your purpose with absolute clarity. Reeves stepped forward, carefully positioning himself according to Corvallian protocol, close enough to show confidence, but maintaining sufficient distance to avoid triggering territorial responses. Admiral Xanthor, throughout your conquests, you have collected knowledge from many civilizations. Today, we offer something unprecedented, not knowledge about us, but the experience of being us. He gestured to the cases as Dr. Singh and Chen began assembling the portable bridge. This technology will allow our minds to temporarily connect. You will experience humanity directly, through my consciousness. No filters, no deceptions. The Corvallian War Council erupted in chittering protests. Sub-Commander Krav stepped forward aggressively. Admiral, this is clearly an attempt at psychological warfare or assassination. No species would willingly expose their consciousness to another. Xanthor raised a clawed hand, silencing the chamber instantly, his compound eyes fixed on Reeves with new intensity. And why would I risk such connection, human? What tactical advantage would this grant my fleet that we do not already possess? Something you've sought across 27 star systems. Admiral, Reeves replied. Something worth more than all the worlds you've conquered. And that is the answer to why we create rather than simply consume. Why we cooperate rather than just compete. Why one human ship would face 500 warships with confidence rather than despair. Admiral Xanthor's chamber fell completely silent, the Corvallian War Council frozen in anticipation. The Admiral studied Reeves with an unreadable expression, his compound eyes reflecting the blue glow of the now-assembled bridge device. "Curiosity," Xanthor finally said, "has always been both my greatest strength and my only weakness." He turned to Sub-Commander Krav. "Prepare medical intervention protocols. If my neural functions show any sign of compromise, you will terminate the humans immediately." "Admiral," Krav began to protest. "The decision is made," Xanthor declared with finality. He turned back to Reeves. "Proceed with your demonstration, human. Show me these mysteries you claim are worth more than conquest." Dr. Chen stepped forward, activating the final calibration sequence on the bridge. The three components hummed in perfect harmony, generating a shimmering field between them. "Captain Reeves will need to be positioned directly across from you, Admiral. The field must encompass both participants equally." As Xanthor moved into position, Reeves felt a moment of genuine fear. Not of the Corvallian commander, but of what awaited in the depths of an alien consciousness evolved from apex predators on a dying world. Chen caught his eye, giving him a barely perceptible nod of encouragement. "The process is simple," she explained to both participants. "Once the field stabilizes, you'll experience a momentary disorientation as your consciousness expands to include the other's perspective. Don't resist the connection. Allow it to form naturally." The quantum field intensified, encapsulating both Reeves and Xanthor in a translucent blue dome of energy. Crystalline patterns formed where the field intersected with their bodies, creating luminous neural maps that hovered in the air between them. Connection initiating in 3, 2, 1. Chen activated the final sequence. The world dissolved around Reeves as his consciousness expanded beyond the boundaries of his own mind. He felt himself falling through layers of perception, memories cascading around him like leaves in a storm. Then, with a sensation like breaking through the surface of water, he found himself experiencing reality through compound eyes that parsed the visual spectrum into fractured geometries of color and movement. Hunger. Always hunger. The first sensation that bombarded him was the perpetual, gnawing hunger that defined Corvallian existence, an evolutionary adaptation to their resource-scarce homeworld. Reeves experienced Xanthor's earliest memories, hatching in a clutch of 60 siblings, feeling the instinctive drive to consume the weaker hatchlings for sustenance. The horror Reeves felt at this memory was immediately contextualized by understanding the biological imperative behind it. On the dying Corvallian homeworld, only the strongest survived to carry the species forward. Simultaneously, Xanthor experienced the warm safety of Reeves' childhood bedroom, the unconditional love of parents who sacrificed their own comfort to provide for him, the community that pooled resources to ensure all children thrived. Concepts completely foreign to Corvallian evolution shook the Admiral's rigid worldview. Cooperation without hierarchy, sharing without calculation of return, protection of the weak as a sign of collective strength. The memories accelerated, decades of experience flowing between minds in seconds. Reeves lived through Xanthor's first command, felt the desperate relief as the Corvallian fleet discovered their first habitable colony world, understood the cold calculation that led to displacing the primitive species that already inhabited it. Not cruelty for its own sake, but the mathematical certainty that without expansion, the Corvallian species faced extinction. Xanthor, meanwhile, experienced Earth's history through Reeves' consciousness, the countless wars fought over resources and ideology, humanity's own brutal past. But what shook the Admiral's understanding was experiencing how humans had evolved beyond zero-sum thinking. He felt the profound emotional impact of the first global climate accord, when traditional enemies set aside centuries of conflict to ensure collective survival. He experienced the inexplicable human willingness to sacrifice individual advantage for group benefit, a concept that violated every principle of Corvallian evolutionary psychology. The shared consciousness deepened, moving beyond individual memories to cultural understanding. Reeves comprehended the intricate honor codes that governed Corvallian conquest, their belief that by absorbing the strengths of other species, they honored those species' evolutionary contributions. He felt the genuine reverence with which they preserved artifacts from conquered civilizations, not as trophies, but as repositories of knowledge to be protected and studied. Xanthor, experiencing human culture, encountered concepts that had no translation in his language. Forgiveness without strategic advantage, art created for beauty rather than status, the voluntary limiting of power when it threatened collective harmony. Most incomprehensible of all, he experienced the human capacity for empathy, the ability to genuinely feel another's pain or joy as one's own, even across species boundaries. Asterisk, this is why you sent one ship. Xanthor's thoughts resonated through the connection. Asterisk, not arrogance, not surrender. Asterisk. Asterisk, understanding is our greatest technology. Reeves' consciousness replied. Asterisk, and our greatest gift. Asterisk. The bridge connection terminated with a soft pulse of light, the quantum field dissolving into particles that shimmered briefly before fading. Reeves and Xanthor remained motionless, each processing the profound exchange of consciousness that had transformed their understanding of the other species. The War Council chamber erupted in concerned chittering as Xanthor slowly sank to one knee, his exoskeleton trembling visibly. Corvallian medics rushed forward, scanning devices assessing their leader's condition. Krav pushed toward the humans, secondary mandibles extended in threat display. "What have you done to the Admiral?" he demanded, looming over Dr. Chen as warriors moved to surround the human delegation. Before anyone could respond, Xanthor raised a clawed hand. "Stand down," he commanded, his voice carrying a new tone that silenced the chamber instantly. With deliberate care, he rose to his full height, his compound eyes showing an altered light pattern that Dr. Yamamoto's cultural database couldn't categorize. "I am unharmed," the Admiral stated, "but I am changed." He approached Reeves, who still stood slightly disoriented from the connection. The two leaders faced each other with newfound recognition that transcended species barriers. Around them, the Corvallian Council watched in stunned silence, sensing a fundamental shift in their commander. "Your consciousness," Xanthor addressed Reeves while including the entire human delegation in his gaze, "contains multitudes I never conceived possible. You experience reality as a shared phenomenon, rather than a competition for dominance." He turned to his council, accessing the ship's projection systems with neural commands. The chamber filled with holographic displays showing scenes from Reeves' memories, humans cooperating to build cities, sharing resources during disasters, celebrating artistic achievements that serve no survival function. "The human evolutionary advantage is not technological," Xanthor explained to his bewildered officers. "It is cognitive. Where we perceive separation and hierarchy, they perceive connection and community." Sub-Commander Krav stepped forward cautiously. "Admiral, with respect, these are merely cultural curiosities. They do not negate our strategic objectives or resource requirements." "Don't they?" Xanthor countered, surprising his subordinates with this unprecedented willingness to debate. "Our conquest model assumes resource acquisition through domain control. The human model achieves resource optimization through cooperative exchange." He projected new data streams showing Earth's resource management systems. "Their approach creates abundance where we would see only scarcity. They transform waste into raw materials at levels of efficiency our engineers deem theoretically impossible." Dr. Chen seized the moment, stepping forward to activate her data tablet. "Admiral, if I may demonstrate." With his nod of permission, she projected a comparison of Corvallian resource extraction methods versus Earth's regenerative systems. "Your fusion technology is more advanced than ours, but your resource cycling is linear rather than circular. The efficiency gap is substantial." The Corvallian scientists present clicked their mandibles in reluctant acknowledgement of the data. Science Officer Zexlin approached the display, compound eyes rapidly processing the information. "These models suggest 78% greater resource utilization without additional extraction requirements. If implementable at scale, this would solve our colony world sustainability crisis." "Precisely," Xanthor confirmed. He faced his council directly. I have experienced their consciousness. There is no deception here, only a fundamentally different approach to existence that we never conceived possible. Captain Reeves, now fully recovered from the bridge experience, addressed the Corvallian leadership. Admiral, what you experienced through my consciousness is just one human perspective. Imagine the possibilities if this understanding could be shared across our species and others. Xanthor's compound eyes shifted to Chen. Your bridge technology, it could be expanded. That's why we came, she confirmed. The emissary isn't just a ship. It's a prototype for a galactic network of consciousness bridges that could transform interspecies relations forever. The chamber fell silent as the implications resonated through the assembled Corvallians. For a species evolved to see the universe through the lens of competition and hierarchy, the concept of mutual benefit without domination represented a revolutionary paradigm shift. What you're proposing, Xanthor said carefully, would fundamentally alter the foundation of Corvallian expansion doctrine, a doctrine that has ensured our survival for 1,000 years. Yes, Reeves acknowledged, but it would also ensure your survival for 1,000 more, without requiring the subjugation of other civilizations. Admiral Xanthor convened his senior council in a private chamber adjacent to the main hall, leaving the human delegation under the watchful eye of science officer Zexlin. The humans could hear the muffled sounds of intense debate, the distinctive clicking patterns of Corvallian disagreement punctuated by occasional harmonics that indicated consensus forming. They're seriously considering it, Dr. Yamamoto whispered, her cultural algorithms analyzing the sound patterns. The frequency shifts suggest the council is divided, but Xanthor has significant support. Dr. Singh checked the bridge components, ensuring they remained perfectly calibrated. The quantum field has stabilized completely. We could establish additional connections if necessary. Reeves nodded, his mind still processing echoes of Xanthor's consciousness, fragments of memories and emotional responses that weren't his own. The Admiral experienced something profound through our connection. He genuinely understands what we're offering. After nearly an hour of deliberation, the chamber doors reopened. Admiral Xanthor emerged, followed by his council members arranged in a formation that cultural databases couldn't identify. Captain Reeves, Xanthor addressed him formally. The High Command has reached a preliminary decision. We require additional information before proceeding further. Dr. Chen stepped forward. Whatever questions you have, Admiral, we'll answer with complete transparency. Xanthor gestured to a holographic display. Show us the complete specifications for this galactic bridge network you propose. How would it function? What would implementation require from participating species? Chen activated her data tablet, projecting a complex three-dimensional model of interconnected nodes spanning across a galactic map. The network would consist of permanent bridge installations on participating worlds, linked through quantum entanglement relays. Each installation would allow for both individual connections, like the one you and Captain Reeves experienced, and broader cultural exchanges through shared consciousness hubs. Science Officer Zexlin examined the specifications with obvious fascination. The energy requirements are substantial, but well within the capabilities of your fusion technology, Chen confirmed. In fact, Corvallian power generation efficiency would make you ideal candidates to host primary hub nodes. This acknowledgement of Corvallian technological superiority clearly registered with the council members, their posture shifting subtly. Xanthor noted this reaction, then returned his attention to the galactic model. And the practical benefits beyond understanding. My responsibility is to ensure the survival and prosperity of the Corvallian people. Reeves projected data from his own tablet. Let me show you the 9th Corvallian colony world. Draxa IV. The hologram displayed a struggling Corvallian settlement on a harsh desert planet. Your atmospheric processors are failing due to mineral deficiencies in the local crust. 3 human agricultural colonies in the same sector have developed synthetic alternatives that could solve your terraforming challenges. He switched to another visualization. Meanwhile, Your fusion containment technology is 70 years ahead of our development curve. A technology exchange would benefit both our species immeasurably." Admiral Xanthor studied the projections, then addressed his council. "What Reeves proposes is not submission, but symbiosis, a concept our evolutionary biologists have long recognized as a valid survival strategy, yet one we've never applied at a civilizational level." Sub-Commander Krav, who had remained skeptical throughout, finally spoke. "Admiral, while the potential benefits are significant, implementing this proposal would represent a fundamental restructuring of Corvallian society. Our hierarchical systems are integral to our identity." "Our identity," Xanthor replied with newfound insight, "is not our hierarchy, Krav. Our identity is our adaptability, our capacity to evolve solutions to ensure survival. It's why we've succeeded where other predator species failed." He turned back to the humans. "Dr. Chen, if we were to participate in this bridge network, would it require all Corvallians to connect? Would individuals retain choice in the matter?" "Absolutely," Chen responded immediately. "Forced connection would violate the fundamental principle of the network, mutual respect and voluntary exchange. Each individual, regardless of species, would choose whether and when to participate." This answer visibly relieved several council members, their posture relaxing from its defensive stance. Xanthor nodded thoughtfully, then made an unexpected request. "I propose a practical demonstration. Select 3 additional members of your crew to connect with 3 of my officers. Let us see if my experience was typical or exceptional." Dr. Chen exchanged glances with Reeves. This went beyond their mission parameters, but the opportunity was too valuable to refuse. "We would need to return to the emissary for additional bridge components." "Acceptable," Xanthor agreed. "But first, I wish to understand the full scope of your proposal. What other species have you approached with this network concept?" "None," Reeves admitted. "The Corvallians are the first." This revelation sent a ripple of surprise through the council. Xanthor's compound eyes fixed on Reeves with new intensity. "You developed technology that could transform galactic civilization, yet you brought it first to the species threatening your extinction rather than seeking allies against us." "We didn't want allies against you," Reeves explained simply. "We wanted you as allies with us. The bridge isn't about creating divisions, it's about healing them." For the first time, a sound emerged from Xanthor that the cultural database identified as the Corvallian equivalent of thoughtful wonder, a harmonic vibration rarely recorded in diplomatic encounters. "You truly are unlike any species we have encountered," the Admiral acknowledged. "Science officers Exlin, prepare a delegation to accompany the humans back to their vessel. We will proceed with expanded testing of this bridge technology." 6 months later, the United Nations Galactic Assembly convened for the first time in Earth's orbital diplomatic complex. Representatives from 27 formerly hostile or isolated species gathered in the Grand Chamber, their diverse physiologies accommodated by specialized environmental stations. At the heart of the assembly stood the completed prototype of the Galactic Bridge Network Hub, a crystalline structure that pulsed with blue-white energy, quantum connections linking it to similar installations across dozens of worlds. Dr. Eleanor Chen made final adjustments to the central console, her once theoretical designs now manifest in functional reality. "Hard to believe it all started with one ship facing down 500, Eli Novick remarked, now serving as Chief Communications Officer for the newly formed Interstellar Diplomatic Corps. "One ship with the right idea," Captain Reeves corrected, adjusting his formal uniform as he prepared to address the assembly. The neural interface crown he'd worn during that first contact with Xanthor was now displayed in a museum exhibit documenting the historic encounter, alongside a molded section of the Admiral's ceremonial exoskeleton, offered as a Corvallian gesture of evolutionary respect. The assembly chamber's lighting shifted to accommodate the various visual perceptions of the gathered species. Admiral Xanthor entered, now bearing the title of Corvallian Ambassador Plenipotentiary. The intricate markings on his exoskeleton had been augmented with new patterns that the cultural databases identified as symbols of transformation and renewal rather than conquest. Captain Reeves. Xanthor greeted him. The translation systems unnecessary between them due to the lingering neural connections from their shared consciousness experience. The Draxa IV colony sends its appreciation for the terraforming assistance. The atmospheric processors now function at 112% of projected efficiency, and the fusion containment advancements your engineers shared have revolutionized our power grid, Reeves replied. Sydney hasn't experienced an outage in 3 months. Dr. Chen approached them, tablet in hand. Final diagnostic checks are complete. The network is ready for its first full-spectrum connection. Around the chamber, representatives from the various species took their positions at designated interface stations. Each wore a version of the neural interface crown, adapted to their specific physiologies but functionally identical. Dr. Singh monitored the quantum field stability from the main control center, while Dr. Yamamoto coordinated the cultural integration algorithms designed to help translate conceptual frameworks across species boundaries. Quite the distance we've traveled from extinction threats, Xanthor observed, his mandibles forming the Corvallian expression of ironic appreciation. The real journey begins today, Reeves responded. Individual connections have been transformative, but a full network consciousness has never been attempted. Ambassador T. Lara of the Vulari Conclave approached, her crystalline exoskeleton chiming softly with each movement. The Corvallians once reduced our southern continent to ash. Today, they help restore it with advanced terraforming techniques. She fixed her multifaceted eyes on Xanthor. Evolution indeed works in unexpected patterns. The assembly took their places as President Takahashi called for attention. Representatives of the 27 founding worlds, today we inaugurate a new approach to galactic community, not based on military might or resource competition, but on genuine understanding through shared consciousness. He gestured to Dr. Chen. The architect of the bridge will activate the network. Chen stepped forward, her hand steady as she initiated the final sequence. The first network connection will last precisely 5 minutes. You'll experience a collective consciousness comprising all participants, yet retain your individual identity. Don't resist the expansion. Flow with it. The quantum field activated, enveloping the entire chamber in a gentle blue radiance. Each representative's interface crown illuminated as the connection established, their expressions shifting from anticipation to wonder as their consciousnesses expanded beyond biological boundaries. For 5 extraordinary minutes, 27 species experienced existence through each other's perceptions simultaneously. The Corvallians' precise, geometric thought patterns complemented the Vulari's flowing emotional frameworks. Human creativity resonated with Andorian analytical constructs. Perspectives that had evolved on worlds light years apart found unexpected harmonies and complementary strengths. When the field dissipated, the chamber remained silent for several moments. Then, gradually, representatives began to speak, not through translators, but directly in each other's languages, the network connection having imparted essential linguistic structures. We no longer need to fear what we do not understand. Xanthor addressed the assembly, because we now understand at the most fundamental level. President Takahashi stepped forward. This network represents only the beginning. As more species join, our collective knowledge and wisdom will expand exponentially. Dr. Chen submitted the final activation report on her tablet. Network stability confirmed. Permanent quantum links established with all 27 hub worlds. Captain Reeves watched as former adversaries engaged in animated discussions, sharing insights gleaned from their brief shared consciousness. The Corvallian fleet that had once threatened Earth's existence now protected the network relay stations throughout the sector. The enemy fleet readied for war. But humanity sent only one ship. Novik quoted from a news headline that had become famous throughout human space. They never expected that ship would change everything. Reeves smiled, glancing at the starfield visible through the assembly chamber's transparent dome. Understanding was always our greatest technology. We just needed to build the right delivery system. As the first official session of the Galactic Assembly commenced, representatives took their seats, not arranged by power or status, but interconnected in patterns that optimized their complementary cognitive strengths. The bridge network hummed quietly at the chamber center, its quantum connections spanning across the stars, carrying not commands or demands, but something far more powerful: the shared experience of existence, transcending the boundaries of individual consciousness to forge a truly unified galactic community.